James Carville knew how to win, and he blamed the Democratic losses this November 2nd on stupid wokeness, to which AOC fired back that wokeness is a term almost exclusively used by older people these days. So that should tell you all you need to know. What? This is a term folks like you brought out very recently and had been proudly displaying at every march since. Just last year, The Guardian declared woke the word of our era. I guess they didn't get the memo from the Mean Girls Club. We don't use that emoji anymore. Woke, please. We say fetch now.
Now, here is Bill Maher criticizing AOC for dismissing woke ideas and leading America in the wrong direction. You would think that after losing badly in the elections, the DNC would change course and move back toward the center. But no. Its biggest leaders, especially AOC, seem determined to continue pushing woke ideas without stopping.
Said I would love to have AOC on this show. There's so much to admire there. I was one of her first supporters for the Green New Deal idea. But that will probably never happen because Democrats don't go anywhere these days where they're not pre-adored. And that's my last bit of advice to them. Go where the amen corner isn't. Do Fox News. Be brave. Come here. Go everywhere. Winning is about expanding the electorate.
And Maher is not slowing down at all. Welcome to this video where he strongly challenges AOC's latest woke statements. Get ready, everyone, because this discussion becomes very serious and intense.
What a great strategy, never missing an opportunity to remind voters how lame and clueless and hopelessly uncool they are, especially since those are the ones who actually vote. But okay, fine. What word would you like us to use for the plainly insane excesses of the left that are not liberalism, but something completely different? Because you can't have that word liberal from us and think it should cover things like canceling Lincoln and teaching third graders they're oppressors. That's all your new thing.
Now, this is where it becomes very interesting. AOC is not truly afraid of being woke. She is afraid of being called woke. It is like saying, I support everything this belief stands for, but please do not embarrass me with that label in public. Even while trying to reduce the focus on wokeness, she still appears clearly and completely woke. And that is exactly what Maher keeps pointing out. He is not arguing about small details. He is criticizing her entire group of self-described woke activists who say they are only progressives, even though their policies have moved far away from traditional liberal values. Maher's argument is very clear. Liberalism once supported open discussion, common sense, and truly listening to people. Now, because of AOC and her close allies, it is turning into an overly moral and highly sensitive campaign that barely looks like the liberalism it claims to defend.
A more pertinent question to ask about the word woke might be, why in such a short time has it gone from a rallying cry to a pejorative? If the word only made you think of rational, deserved causes like teaching a less whitewashed version of American history, AOC would still want to own it. But it's a joke, because it makes you think of people who wake up offended and take orders from Twitter, and their oversensitivity has grown tiresome.
Exactly. Leaders like AOC and Bernie Sanders do not represent true liberal values. Not the traditional kind that protect free speech, encourage open discussion, and support practical solutions. Ironically, they have also taken control of the original meaning of woke, which once meant understanding real and clear social injustices. Today, the word has been changed and expanded to include extreme ideas that most ordinary people cannot relate to. What started as a call for awareness has become a cultural display where the goal is not justice but pleasing a small group that feels offended by almost everything. Instead of creating policies that support working-class Americans, the movement focuses on controlling language, minor ideological conflicts, and strict standards no one requested. Maher's point is clear. This modern woke movement has moved far away from true liberalism and from the concerns of everyday people.
People ask me all the time, why haven't you ever had Hillary or Bill Clinton on? Why didn't you have Kamala on during the last campaign? You think we don't ask? We ask these people every week. They say no. It took 8 years and a petition to get Obama on. And these are people, all people I voted for. Think about that. They're afraid to come on the show of a guy who voted for them. The Republicans, they show up.
If you followed this channel, you know this is not Maher's first time challenging Democrats to appear on his show. He has openly invited them, personally reached out, and even criticized them publicly. Still, they refuse to come. The reason seems obvious. They know Maher will not flatter them or allow them to repeat prepared statements without being challenged. Yes, he is a Democrat, but he is someone who believes in tough questions, honest discussion, and calling out nonsense when he sees it. That alone makes him uncomfortable for today's highly sensitive and carefully managed political figures. They understand that sitting across from Maher means he will question every inconsistency, reveal contradictions in their arguments, and likely tear apart their woke narratives, live on national television. So what do? They avoid him, because facing Maher means facing reality.
You can give the people all the goodies Joe Manchin will allow, and it doesn't seem to buy their love. Why? Why is the party that supports so many issues that benefit the middle class still considered out of touch by 62% of Americans? In plain English, nobody likes a snob. Hillary Clinton didn't have anyone on rural research or outreach when she ran in 2016 until the race tightened just before the election. Then they hired one. And where was his office? Brooklyn. True story. Politics is local, not locally sourced. It's not artisan. It's art and Stan.
These days, the DNC seems more focused on political performance than on solving the problems that keep everyday Americans worried at night. Instead of dealing with the concerns of average voters, they cater to the loudest voices on the far left. Voices that do not truly represent most of their own supporters. Maher has tried to repeat a simple political truth. Politics is not a show. It is local. It means showing up for the people who elected you, listening to their struggles, and fixing the everyday issues that shape their lives. Yet that message seems to go unnoticed by figures like AOC, who appear more focused on ideological battles than practical leadership. Maher's point is very clear. If Democrats want to rebuild trust, they need less performance and more real problem solving. Right now, they are completely missing that goal.
Your microaggression culture doesn't play in the Rust Belt. If a staffer hands you a speech that says menstruating people instead of women, don't say that. Say women. Don't put anyone fresh out of college in charge of the campaign. They've been given participation trophies their whole life. They don't know how to win.
Maher continues breaking down, step by step, the woke mistakes he believes hurt the DNC in the elections. And he does not hold back. He argues that they almost removed the idea of womanhood, replacing a word used for centuries with medical phrases like menstruating people or birthing people, expecting everyday Americans to accept it as normal. He also criticizes what he sees as a radical shift in education culture. Instead of teaching resilience, high standards, and true achievement, schools began rewarding participation without effort. No hard work required. No excellence recognized. The message seemed to be simple: just attend and you succeed. Maher says this attitude later spread into politics, activism, and even workplaces. He points to another concern as well: hiring people based on checking demographic boxes instead of skills. Merit was pushed aside and voters noticed. These are not small errors, Maher argues. They are clear signs of ideological overreach, and he believes they explain why the DNC lost connection with reality and with the people they are meant to serve.
To a lot of folks in America, you come across as the cares about everybody but me party. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can find ways to stand up for these folks without being David Duke. This month, when the Democrats finally passed their big $1 trillion bill to rebuild our roads and bridges, 6 Democrats voted no because it didn't go far enough to address climate change, which I'm sure is true. What does? But this was free money from the federal government that would actually improve their constituents' lives. I can see a voter saying, you know, squad, I agree with you on climate change. But as long as it is happening, we also need money for getting the water pumped out of the subway.
According to Maher, today's Democrats appear more focused on issues overseas than on citizens in their own communities. They strongly support causes in Gaza, organize emotional campaigns for teenagers in Guatemala, and write public appeals for groups in Afghanistan. Yet when decisions directly affect American families, jobs, safety, housing, and living costs, progress slows down or stops. Maher highlights one major example: a large funding package they rejected because it did not include climate change measures. Instead of using the money to address urgent problems like weak infrastructure, struggling cities, and pressured households, they turned it down completely. It seems as though domestic hardship can wait, but global symbolism cannot. Maher's argument is direct but measured. They could have accepted the funds, solved immediate issues first, and then pushed for climate policies afterward. That is how practical politics usually works. But he believes today's Democrats are so focused on ideological purity that they avoid compromise even when Americans are struggling. and voters notice that.
And then there's abortion, a difficult issue for the Democrats to lose on. But they're trying. For decades, liberals have said if only men could get pregnant, this wouldn't even be an issue. And abortion rights are women's rights. Well, that's wrong now. Or as the kids say, hold up. When the wokey end of the progressive spectrum talks about abortion now, they shy away from that word, women, and prefer terms like birthing people or people who menstruate, because somewhere there's a trans man who's pregnant, and I say good for him, and I'll be looking for his story somewhere in a future issue of Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Maher says the woke movement reached a peak when some activists claimed that men could become pregnant. For many people, that statement seemed to conflict with basic biology and cause confusion. To support this idea, a pregnant man emoji was even introduced, which critics saw as symbolic rather than scientific. Many members of the public reacted with disbelief and concern. Questions and criticisms followed, suggesting that the debate had moved far from everyday understanding. However, instead of open discussion, some activists responded strongly against those who questioned the claim. People who disagreed were sometimes labeled intolerant or hateful. Debate felt discouraged, while agreement was expected. Disagreement was treated as unacceptable. At that point, Maher argues, the issue no longer seemed about fairness or inclusion. It appeared to become about enforcing one viewpoint, and many ordinary people felt unable to keep up with the changing language and expectations.
Last week, an 85% Latino congressional district on the border with Mexico, which had always voted heavily Democratic, flipped to the red team. And the campaign manager for the losing Democrat said, "We gave up a reliably Democratic congressional seat for no reason at all. We deserve to know why." Well, aside from your terrible attitude, I'm going to tell you why. Because these voters stopped seeing your candidate as their lawyer. That's why. Their message to you was, I'm an American now. I'm here. Be my lawyer, not the lawyer for the migrants showing up in my backyard.
In the end, Maher's criticism is not only about AOC, woke language, or political drama. It is about a Democratic Party that he believes has become too focused on performance and not focused enough on the people it says it represents. From redefining biological terms to changing school standards, from emphasizing global symbolism to rejecting funding that did not perfectly fit climate goals, he argues that the far left has created a political message that feels distant from everyday Americans. Maher's central point is simple. When a party focuses more on satisfying small activist groups than on solving real problems, voters will turn away, and many did. He believes the DNC did not lose because Americans lacked compassion or knowledge. They lost because the party ignored practical concerns, discouraged disagreement, and treated common sense as a threat. If Democrats want to regain trust, he argues they must stop focusing on language battles, reduce extreme positions, and start addressing the real challenges facing ordinary people. Until then, Maher says critics will continue speaking out, and voters will continue responding at elections. That concludes today's discussion. If you enjoyed it, press the like button and subscribe for more content like this.